Every year, people claim to see things that shouldn't exist. Most are ignored. Some are forgotten. But once in a while, an entire town remembers the same nightmare, and that's when fear becomes evidence. Every year, across the world, people claim to encounter things that science refuses to explain. Creatures without names. Shapes without logic. Most of these stories disappear with time, buried under disbelief. But sometimes, an entire town remembers the same nightmare. In the spring of one forgotten year, something came to Briar Hollow, a place so quiet that even rumors struggled to survive. And when it left, it didn't take lives. It took peace. Briar Hollow sat far from highways and headlines, wrapped in farmland and decaying woods. Nights here were thick and heavy, the kind where silence pressed against your ears until your own breathing felt too loud. People trusted the dark because it had never betrayed them. Until April 14th. That evening, Thomas Carter returned home after sunset with his wife, Elaine. Their small wooden house stood at the edge of town, where the road thinned and the trees leaned closer, as if listening. Inside, they found their 8-year-old son, Noah, curled on the floor, shaking. He wouldn't speak at first. When he finally did, his voice came out fractured, like something inside him had snapped. "There was someone outside," he whispered. But it wasn't a person. Thomas sighed. Animals wandered close all the time: raccoons, coyotes, deer. Fear made children imaginative. Elaine knelt and pulled Noah close, telling him it was just the woods playing tricks. Then the scratching started. It came from the front door. Not frantic. Not random. Slow. Intentional. As if whatever was outside knew exactly where the wood was weakest. Thomas felt his stomach tighten. He gestured for Elaine to take Noah to the bedroom while he approached the door. With each step, the sound stopped, replaced by silence so complete it felt staged. He flicked on the porch light and opened the door. What stood there did not belong to the forest. It was short, no taller than his chest, but built wrong, its body uneven, its posture bent as if gravity worked differently for it. Pale gray skin clung tightly to its frame, stretched over muscle that looked overused, strained. And its eyes. They were too large. Too bright. Pink and wet-looking, reflecting the porch light like polished glass. They didn't blink. The creature didn't charge. It leaned forward. Thomas slammed the door shut, heart hammering violently. He shouted for Elaine to lock the bedroom and grabbed the rifle from the wall. When he opened the door again, the thing was closer. Close enough that he could see the long claws curling at the ends of its arms too short for its body, attached awkwardly to its torso. Below, 3 powerful legs bent unnaturally, coiled like springs waiting to release. Thomas fired. The shot exploded into the night, deafening in the stillness. The creature recoiled, letting out a sharp, hissing sound that scraped against the nerves, but it didn't fall. It smiled. Not with a mouth, but with posture. With confidence. Then it jumped. Not ran. Not fled. It launched itself into the darkness, clearing the yard in a single movement, vanishing beyond the fence and into the trees as if the laws of distance meant nothing to it. Thomas stood frozen, rifle shaking in his hands, listening to the echo of silence returning like a mockery. Police arrived later to find claw marks carved deep into the doorframe and siding. Tracks marked the ground, wrong tracks. Misshapen. Uneven. As if something with too many joints had passed through. They told the Carters it was probably a large animal. Stress. Imagination. A bad night. But animals don't knock. Animals don't test doors. And animals don't come back. Because that same night, miles away, a boy ran home barefoot through an alley. screaming that something heavy had slammed into him from the shadows, something that hissed and reached for his legs. By morning, Briar Hollow buzzed with whispers. By nightfall, fear had learned the town's name. And something in the woods was listening. By the third night, Briar Hollow was no longer a town. It was a rumor with guns. Word spread faster than fear ever should. Whispers jumped from porch to porch, from diner booths to gas station counters. By morning, everyone knew about the thing outside the Carter house, not the truth, but a sharpened version of it. It was taller now. More aggressive. Bulletproof. Each retelling fed it. People stopped sleeping. Light stayed on all night, windows glowing like watchful eyes. Dogs barked until their throats gave out. Every sound, wind, branches, footsteps, was no longer neutral. Everything meant it. By sunset, trucks began arriving from neighboring towns. Men climbed out carrying rifles, flashlights, and the dangerous excitement of people who wanted to be part of a story. They called it a hunt. Sheriff Miller begged them to go home. He warned them that panic kills faster than monsters. No one listened. Fear had already found something it loved more than safety purpose. That night, Briar Hollow went into the woods. Searchlights cut through the trees like surgical blades. Boots crushed leaves, snapping twigs that echoed too loudly. Radios crackled with false sightings. I saw movement. Over here. No, by the creek. Every shadow became a target. At the edge of town, near an abandoned farmhouse, the air changed. The woods felt tighter, closer, as if the trees themselves were leaning inward. That's when the sound came. A high-pitched cry, not loud, but sharp. It sliced through the forest and crawled under the skin. Not a scream of rage. A warning. The lights swung wildly. Men shouted. Someone fired into the darkness. Then it appeared. Low to the ground. Gray and wrong. Its eyes caught the beams and reflected them back, brighter than before. It didn't rush them. It studied them. When it moved, it didn't flee, it circled. 3 legs carried it in uneven arcs, bending too far, too fast. It leapt sideways, then straight up, vanishing into the branches before dropping back down behind them. Panic shattered discipline. Shots rang out in every direction. Bark exploded off trees. One man screamed when something brushed past him, not an attack, just contact. The creature hissed again, closer this time. Then it charged. Not at a person, through them. It bounded between bodies, claws grazing jackets, boots, skin. It never struck deep. Never committed. It wasn't killing. It was demonstrating. When it vanished, silence collapsed over the group like a punishment. The men stood shaking, weapons lowered, realizing something unbearable. They hadn't been hunting it. It had been testing them. As the group retreated, the damage became clear. A man had been shot in the leg, friendly fire. Another had tripped and broken his arm. Someone else was missing. They found him later, curled against a tree, alive but sobbing uncontrollably. He couldn't explain what he'd seen, only that when the creature looked at him, he felt judged. That was the night Briar Hollow crossed a line. After that, the creature came closer to homes. It scratched deeper. It stood just beyond porch lights, letting itself be seen for a second longer each time. Children stopped going outside. Neighbors stopped trusting each other. People slept with weapons instead of prayers. And the most terrifying truth settled in slowly. The creature didn't need to attack. It only had to exist. Because fear was doing the rest of the work. By dawn, the woods were quiet again. No tracks. No body. No proof. Only a town fractured by the realization that when darkness arrived, it wasn't the monster that lost control. It was them. And somewhere beyond the trees, something waited, patient, observant, deciding whether Briar Hollow deserved another night. By the time Briar Hollow understood the creature had changed its behavior, it was already too late. It no longer wandered. It waited. The sightings stopped being scattered reports from the edge of town. Instead, they began clustering always near the same stretch of road, always circling the Carter house like a slow, tightening noose. Thomas Carter noticed first. Every night, just before dawn, something stood at the tree line. He never saw it arrive. He never heard it leave. It was simply there, a silhouette bent at impossible angles, motionless, watching the house as if counting breaths. He stopped sleeping. Elaine tried to be strong, but fear hollowed her out from the inside. Their son Noah began waking with blood on his pillow from biting his tongue in his sleep. When he spoke, it was only to whisper that the thing outside knew his name. The sheriff increased patrols, but the creature never appeared when police were present. It avoided lights, radios, engines. It preferred witnesses who were alone. One night, Thomas set a camera by the window. In the morning, the footage showed nothing except at exactly 3:17 a.m., every sound cut out. No wind. No insects. No static. Just silence. Then the camera tilted slightly, as if something had leaned in to look. That same morning, a neighbor named Ruth Caldwell was found in her kitchen, alive but unresponsive. Her doors were locked. No signs of forced entry. On the wall behind her, scratched deep into the wood, were 3 long vertical grooves. Not a message. A tally. The town spiraled. People accused each other of hiding it, feeding it, lying about it. Church pews filled while trust emptied. Every unexplained noise became proof of betrayal. And through it all, the creature remained faithful to one place. The Carters. On the 7th night, it finally came closer than ever before. Thomas heard it breathing on the porch. Slow. Wet. Curious. He opened the door. The creature stood inches away. Its eyes were different now, duller, heavier. Older. Its gray skin was torn in places, matted with dirt and blood that didn't seem to belong to it. One of its legs dragged slightly, but its balance was perfect. It raised one claw and pressed it gently against Thomas's chest. Not threatening. Claiming. Then it leaned forward and made a sound Thomas would never forget. It spoke. Not in words, but in memory. Images flooded Thomas's mind, moments of anger he'd buried, times he'd scared his own son, nights he'd chosen pride over protection. The creature wasn't showing him its thoughts. It was showing him his. Thomas collapsed, gasping. When he looked up, the porch was empty. But the damage was done. The next day, Noah disappeared. No signs of struggle. No footprints. Just his shoes left neatly by the back door. The town exploded into chaos. Search parties tore through the woods, screaming Noah's name. Shots rang out again, but this time no one claimed to see the creature. Because it didn't want to be seen. Thomas found Noah just before sunset. The boy stood at the edge of the forest, unharmed, staring into the trees. When Thomas reached him, Noah turned and said something that broke whatever remained of his father. It said, "You were afraid of me becoming you." That night, the creature returned one final time. It stood in the yard as the entire Carter family watched from the window. It didn't move. It didn't threaten. It waited. Then, slowly, it bowed its head, not in submission, but in acknowledgement, and leapt away into the darkness, vanishing forever. After that, the sightings stopped. The scratches faded. The woods went quiet. But Briar Hollow never recovered. Because the creature had never been there to destroy the town. It had come to expose it. And once it had done that, it no longer had a reason to stay. The creature never returned. That should have been the end of it. Stories like this are supposed to close with relief, with the monster gone and normal life restored. But Briar Hollow didn't return to normal, because whatever had come from the woods had taken something with it. It took certainty. In the weeks after its disappearance, the town felt hollowed out, like a body missing an organ it hadn't known it needed until it was gone. The woods were silent again. No strange cries. No unnatural shadows. Yet no one trusted the quiet. People slept with lights on, not because they expected to see it again, but because darkness itself had become suspicious. Children flinched at door scratches made by branches. Dogs refused to go near the tree line, whining as if remembering something their owners wished they could forget. The Carters stayed. Everyone expected them to leave, to sell the house, to escape the place where fear had learned their names. But Thomas refused. Leaving felt like guilt. He aged quickly after that spring. The man who once spoke confidently now chose his words carefully, as if afraid they might be overheard. Elaine became softer, quieter, always watching Noah with a mixture of love and fear. Because Noah was different. He didn't have nightmares. He didn't fear the woods. Sometimes, he stood by the window at night, listening. When asked what he heard, he would only say, "Nothing." But it's still listening to us. The town tried to move on. The sheriff closed the case. The newspapers lost interest. Outsiders stopped coming. But something had shifted permanently. People had seen what fear did to them. How quickly they turned on one another. How easily they justified violence, suspicion, and cruelty, not because they were forced to, but because fear had given them permission. That knowledge didn't fade. Years later, a university study would label the incident mass hysteria. Misidentified animals. Psychological contagion. Social panic. Briar Hollow residents didn't argue. They simply didn't agree. Because hysteria doesn't leave marks that deep. One evening, months after the last sighting, Thomas found something behind the house. 3 long grooves carved into the old fence, weathered now, almost gone. Not fresh. Not old. Waiting. He never told anyone. Time passed. Children grew up. New families moved in. The story softened, becoming local legend rather than lived memory. But every spring, something strange happened. Animals avoided the woods for a few weeks. Radios crackled with unexplained interference. And once or twice, someone would swear they saw a shape standing far beyond the trees, not approaching, not threatening. Observing. As if checking progress. Noah left town when he turned 18. He never explained why. He only told his parents that some places don't want to be forgotten. Years later, Thomas died quietly in his sleep. On his bedside table, Elaine found a notebook. Inside were pages filled with dates, times, and observations. Notes about sounds in the woods, changes in the air, patterns in behavior, not of the creature, but of people. On the final page, Thomas had written one sentence. It wasn't here to hunt us. It was here to measure us. Elaine burned the notebook the same night. She understood now. The creature had never attacked when it could have. Never killed when it was capable. It had appeared only long enough to watch what people did when they believed something was watching them. And what it learned was enough. Whether it was a monster, an animal, or something far beyond human understanding no longer mattered. Because its legacy remained. Briar Hollow became careful. Kinder. Slower to judge. Quicker to listen. Fear had shown them their reflection. And somewhere beyond the trees, or beyond this world, something else had taken note. The real horror wasn't that something came from the dark. It was that it didn't need to stay. Moral. Fear doesn't reveal monsters hiding in the woods. It reveals the ones hiding inside us. And once something sees who we truly are, it never needs to come back.